Happy Friday. I hope that you've had a really wonderful week. Feel free to share your wins and successes in the comments below so that I can celebrate with you. In today's video, I want to explore what I'm calling the 3 levels of fees in private practice, because it can be really confusing sometimes when you see the disparity between what you can receive financially for the work that you do as a health practitioner. So for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to use the example of counsellors in private practice, and what I'm going to share with you can be applied to just about any allied health profession. Okay, so here are the 3 levels. First off, there's working for yourself. Now, there are so many advantages to this, not the least of which is the ability to receive the highest amount of income, right? You also have complete control over your practice. You've got total flexibility in things like scheduling and your client selection, ability to build your own brand and become the go-to practice in your area. Though there's also a flip side, isn't there? You're responsible for all of the expenses, okay? So the rent, the equipment, the marketing, the tools of trade. That meaning any assessments, any tools that you need, any books that you need, your courses, all that kind of stuff. You've got to handle all your admin. You're responsible for finding all the clients. You need to manage your tax and your superannuation yourself. You don't get paid leave, and you don't get benefits, of course. And so that's sort of the first one. So the first one sounds really great, because if you're, say, a counselor and you have a client, and I'm just going to use round numbers for ease of calculation for the scenario, but let's say that your session fee is $200. You're going to work with that client, you're going to boom, get the $200 into your bank account. Amazing. It's going to feel really, really great. But just remember that you've got all these other things that you've got to pay for. Okay. The second one is working as a subcontractor. Now, this is a really popular model for people when they first move into private practice, because let's face it, it is just easier. You've got a higher income earning potential as a subcontractor than you ever do as an employee. You've got some flexibility in your scheduling, but you're pretty much guided to by when the person, the host employer that you're contracting to, is needing the work to be done. There's a lot less admin compared to if you were doing everything yourself. And you get access to an established client base, which is just awesome. This is what I mean. It's like a really, really easy way to start your private practice. In fact, you probably know that in the counseling community, at least, a lot of therapists start their business by relying on EAP work. They work as subcontractors, usually for an employee assistance program. They become a provider. They don't have to find the clients. They just have to let that provider know, look, I'm available on Monday mornings, Wednesday afternoons, Friday evenings. I can do on-site, off-site, online, in person. You just have to let the EAP provider know, and then that provider just contacts you and says, hey, I've got somebody for you, boop, and just pops them in your diary. You see them, and then you get paid. I mean, getting paid by an EAP is a whole other story, but you get paid, right? And it's a higher rate than if you were an employee. On average, now I know I just want to anticipate, I'm going to get my polarity responders here, but on average, okay, so excluding the outliers, on average, a subcontracting rate is about 50%. It's about half of the normal private rate that you would charge a client. So for example, just using our round figure, and I'm not saying counsellors all charge $200, I'm just using that as an example. If you were working privately, you would maybe be charging the client $200. You get all that $200, but you've got to do all the legwork, right? And have all the things, and there's a lot of responsibility on you to do that and get those clients in and get that revenue coming into the business. If you're subcontracting, it's a lot easier. A lot easier. You don't have to find the clients. A lot of the admin's done, a lot of the setup's done, the marketing's done for you. You can just pretty much turn up with your handbag and your laptop, go anywhere you need to go, and you're good. And you can work with the client, earn your money. As a subcontractor, roughly on average, the approximation is about half of what a standard consultation fee is. So if you're normally charging 200, you would be looking at about $100 as a subcontractor for doing the same work. Now, this is really important to understand because there are places that will pay you a little bit less, and there are places that will pay you a little bit more, as with anything. So the average is about half. If we say normally you're going to be getting 200 if it's just you doing the work privately or yourself and everything, if you're subcontracting, you're probably looking at anywhere from like $80 to $120, okay, in that range for the same client, right? You're still delivering the same service on the couch or on the computer to a client, but you don't have half the responsibilities, half the worry. You just turn up and do it. And that's the fee that you get paid, okay? The employer or the host organization says, I've got clients, I need you to see them. I'll give you $100 a session, or I'll give you between 80 and $120 a session. And so people start off doing EAP work. I'm just saying EAP, it's not the only subcontracting work, but normally it's an easy way for you to start to get some money in that's more than you'd normally get being an employee. You still have some flexibility, you've still got some freedom, okay? There are some disadvantages to being a subcontractor though. So it is, as I said, about half of what you would normally get working for yourself. You're still responsible for your own tax and super. You don't have as much control over your work environment as you did if you were, doing your own thing. Again, you're not going to have paid leave or benefits usually, and it can feel like you're working as if you're an employee. All right. Now, the last one is when you are actually working as an employee. The advantages here, as you probably know, is that it's a steady paycheck. At the same time, every week or fortnight or month, whatever it is, your schedule, you're getting the money. And predictably and reliably, usually how much that money is. Now, of course, depending on the type of work that you're doing and who you're working for, that's going to vary. Maybe if you're working as a therapist with employment services, you might be entitled to some kind of extra incentives or extra bonuses if you can keep your client in paid employment for 13 weeks or 26 weeks or whatever it is, right? So there may be variations, but pretty much the pay's predictable. The employer gives you everything. So you turn up, they have given you a computer, a laptop, a mobile phone, a desk to sit at, a space, a chair, a car park, maybe, not all the time, maybe things like that. But basically, everything's kind of done for you. Also, the employer is going to be handling your tax and your superannuation. So that's kind of taken off your plate for you too. And you're going to get some benefits. You're going to get paid sick leave. You're going to get parent leave, like maternal, paternal, like parent, guardian, carer leave. You're going to get sick leave. You're going to get leave loading towards your long service leave, all this kind of stuff, right? All these things that you don't get when you're a subcontractor or working for yourself, unless you are, focused on setting the business up in the right way and you factor those things in. But most people don't. I think it would be good if you did. So anyway, and then also there's no need for you to find clients or even handle the marketing as an employee. That's all done for you. Also, the thinking is largely done for you. You don't have to be innovative. You don't have to come up with things. Usually you're given a position description, you're told what's expected of you, you've got a manager or a supervisor or a senior psych or a senior clinician that checks in with you regularly to make sure that you're doing what is expected of you. that there's support in place for retraining and re-education if you're dropping the ball, all those kinds of things. So you don't really have to think in a business way. Basically, you're told what to do and you do it, and that's being an employee. Now, I know different roles are going to be different, and yes, I'm sure there are roles where you're an employee and you do get to innovate and be creative, but for the most part, being an employee, everything's kind of done for you. So that's the advantage there. It's the lowest amount of income that you'll take home, but it's the easiest. It's absolutely the easiest. So, in terms of how much or what does that ratio look like? Remember how we were talking about if you were in private practice, for example, and you were hypothetically charging a private client $200 for a session, right? And then if you were subcontracting to a third party, you would see their client for them, and they would give you about $100, 80 to 120. We're just going to split it down the middle. You're going to get about $100. If you're working for an employer, you're probably going to get about half that again. So you're probably going to get around $50. Um, but keep in mind, you're getting all these other perks and benefits that you don't get when you're subcontracting or working for yourself. So they're the three different types of ways that are most common in private practice for allied health professionals, complementary medicine professionals, alternative health practitioners to receive remuneration for the work that they do in their private practice. And the reason that I wanted to share this with you today is because I think it's really important when you're applying for work that you understand or that you have a context to understand what it means in terms of dollar amounts and your expectations, so that you're going into it with a clear mindset, right? With a clear understanding of what this is going to look like. You can't apply for a subcontracting job and tell them that you want the same money that you would get if you were just seeing the clients privately, because you'll never get the job. It doesn't work like that. And it doesn't matter if it's EAP. Maybe you're going to go and work for a group private practice. Um, you know, if you're going to work for a group private practice, maybe you're subcontracting to them. Um, if you were normally seeing your clients for $200, again, for that group private practice, you're probably going to get about half of that. Again, it's going to vary. There will be a range 80 to 120, but I'm just giving you this so that you understand what you can expect. When you go to apply for a position as an employee, it's also helpful to think about asking the employer what are all the inclusions, because that can help you figure out whether or not it's going to be worth your while. I mean, it doesn't look much on paper to get, roughly $50 an hour, depending on what you do, right? It doesn't look like much. But then when you add on that they're paying your tax, so that's going to be like 22 or 23% and up, and they're going to pay super, which is they're giving you another 12% on top of the base rate and things like that. Plus they're going to do leave loading, plus they're going to pay for you to take annual leave, plus they're probably going to cover the cost of you doing your PD. Maybe they're also going to cover the cost of you having supervision, things like that. It's important that you understand this so that you can make informed decisions about what you're going to do. And if you're going to be a subcontractor and you're thinking, oh, that's not great money, that's horrible money, again, understand the context. When you're working as a subcontractor, the pay is different to if you're working for yourself, because of some of those things. You don't have, as a subby, you don't have a lot of the obligation and responsibility that the business does. You don't have to find the clients, all those kinds of things. Okay, so that's just giving that to you. And also, if you want to go into private practice, you're thinking about it and you're thinking about your fee, take into consideration, yes, it's going to be very exciting to get that fee in your bank account, and it's going to feel so affirming when somebody pays it. You're going to feel amazing. You'll be walking on air. This is great. But remember that There's nobody there tapping you on the shoulder saying, hey, remember to put 30% of that away for your on costs, and remember to put away 12% for your super, and remember to put away this for your personal tax and this for the business tax if you're charging GST and you're on quarterly basses. And do you know what I mean? And remember to put away this for your education and training, and put away that for, you're responsible for it all. And on top of that, you're marketing, trying to find clients, trying to get contracts, trying to nurture relationships with referrers while you're juggling a full caseload, all those kinds of things. So, really think about which model is going to work best for you at this point in your journey, and understand too that you're not limited to just one model. Okay, there are plenty of people in private practice that have blended models. So, a really common one is to be seeing clients privately, maybe again, just for simplicity's sake. Let's say you work in your private practice 4 days a week, and Monday and Tuesday you see your own private clients, but on Wednesday and Thursday you do subcontracting work for other businesses, maybe EAPs, maybe group practices, whatever. You do that work on those other 2 days. So it'll be an example for you of a blended model, and that's absolutely fine for you to do in your private practice. What's really typical is to, when you open, start subcontracting, because it's just easy. It's so much easier than trying to find the clients yourself and do everything yourself. So most therapists will start with EAP first, and then while they're doing some of the EAP work, they're slowly in the background trying to build up their private client base. As the client private base builds up, then they start to drop back that EAP work or the subcontracting work, right? You phase them in. Would I ever recommend totally phasing out your subcontracting? No. And here's why. I think until you have multiple revenue streams coming into the practice, it's never a good idea to put all your eggs in one basket. You don't know what's going to happen with your business, especially if, as I understand, so many therapists didn't go and learn how to run a business, and they didn't go and learn how to market it. They just kind of got qualified and said, ta-da, I'm having a private practice and here's my logo and here's my website. And then they crash and they're like, oh, what have I done? Where are the clients? What am I going to do? And it's panic stations. We don't want that for you. We want to make sure that when you open up, you've got a model that really works for you, that's flexible, but also can zig to the zag of the economy, and can zig to the zag of you and your wants and your needs and your values. So, for example, there might be times where you know, put a pin in subcontracting because you're really loving doing all of the private work. But then there might be other times where the private work has gone quiet, right? It's gone quiet because you didn't learn how to run a business yet, or you didn't learn how to market yet, which would have prevented that from happening. And so now you're finding yourself in, you know, feast and famine. You're in the famine state. Now you're desperate for work. And so you pick up the subcontracting again. I think it's a, you know, it's always better for you to be able to run a business with a business mindset on. That means learn how to run the business, learn how to market it so you can set yourself up for success and you won't have to worry about feast and famine. But also, I'm sharing this with you because I want you to understand that there's no right way and there's no wrong way in terms of choosing a business model. It's more important to choose, well, to understand what the business models are and to understand which one is a good fit for your business right now, what's going to be a good fit for the next 6 months, what's going to be a good fit for the next 12 months, based on your values, your needs, your lifestyle, the things that you desire, whether it's helping more people, whether it's making some profit so you can upgrade all your tools and equipment, or get a better couch or something, whatever it is, right? They're the most important things to take away. So when you're having a look for work, be careful what meaning you're attributing to things. If it looks like a low fee, before you panic or think, that person's horrible because they're not going to pay me very much money and things like that, before you start going down that, stop, remember this conversation. Um, Remember what the business models are that we've discussed. Look at the advantages and the disadvantages of the one that is presenting itself to you in that moment, and think about, is this a good choice for my business right now? You can always change. You're never locked into anything. Your business is going to operate in 90-day cycles. So, at worst, you're only locked into something for 90 days, okay, which you can absolutely handle. So I hope that this was helpful. I hope that it was informative. If you have any questions, I think it would be great for you to speak with your accountant, because obviously I'm not an accountant, and you want to make business decisions um, for the business without the emotional, bit being part of it. Okay, it's true. um, when it comes to running a business, you do need to have a clear head. You've got to be able to make logical, informed, structured decisions for the business. I'm not saying there's no place for emotion. There's absolutely place for emotion in your business. Maybe it's in the work that you're doing with your clients. Maybe it's part of using your intuition, and having an intuitive practice. Maybe you're using emotion to support you in tapping into messaging that you want to create for your marketing, all that kind of thing. But when it comes to business models and things like that, no, you need to have, when it's business models, when it's money, things like that, you need to have a very, very, very clear head. So I hope this was helpful. Let me know your thoughts. If you have any questions about being a subcontractor, being an employee, working for yourself, of course, let me know. Drop them in the comments below, and I'll be more than happy to answer them for you if I can. And if I can't, I'll point you in the direction of somebody who can. Thank you so much for joining me on another video today. Congratulations on getting through another week, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Bye for now.